Thank you. I'm now calling this Tuesday, July 21st, 2026, regular meeting of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District Board of Commissioners to order. Time is 7:05 p.m. Please note we're conducting a hybrid meeting, which allows staff and members of the public to attend this via virtual teleconference. In the event that there are any technical problems that prevent remote public participation, I'll have the discretion to continue this without remote public participation options, provided that no board members participating in this meeting via teleconference, and that is the case. None are tonight. This meeting will be video recorded and posted on our website, and because we are video conferencing, we will follow a strict protocol for the benefit of that recording. I will indicate when commissioners, staff, presenters, and the public will provide comments. If you've called into the meeting and are not using a webcam, please state your name prior to providing your comment. And if you're making public comments and have questions of the presenter or the commission, please address your questions to me, the board president. I'll respond and either seek a response or hold the question for a future meeting. Please practice considerate video conferencing etiquette by muting your line when you're not speaking, and please limit distracting behavior on camera. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct a roll call.
Okay, commissioners, I will be conducting all roll calls this evening in the same order. Please remember the order so that you are prepared to provide your comment or vote. President Spreen.
Here.
Vice President McDonald. Commissioner Basigi.
Here.
Commissioner Kadambi.
Present.
Commissioner Tonka.
Here.
Commissioner Tyson.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
Okay, and we have 6 commissioners present. For the benefit of the recording, I will also conduct a presenters, consultants, and staff roll call. Santa Clara County Fire Department Fire Chief Girdgow.
Present.
Thank you. Santa Clara County Weed Abatement Manager Eo Silevsky is in the back. Okay. TRC Principal Engineer Hansel Durbin.
Present.
Thank you. Let's see. Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council CEO Shallett. Thank you. Municipal Resource Group Strategic Planning Consultant Scott is not here. Professional Development Consultant Schaffner is in the audience. Thank you. Programs Planning Grants Manager Woods. I see her. She's online. Technical Analyst Project Manager Cronin.
Present.
Thank you. Operations Project Manager Russell is in the back. Thank you. Field Manager Harmon.
Here.
Thank you. Technical Data Analyst Martinez.
Present.
Okay. Project Manager Administration Revlar.
Present.
Thank you. Project Manager Risk Reduction King Rob.
Present.
Community Risk Reduction Specialist Stocksick.
Present.
Thank you. Finance Program Specialist Corpus. Yes, I see her. She's online. IHFR Specialist Nazarova.
Present.
Okay. Program Specialist 2 Pope.
Present.
Finance and IT Manager Moriali.
Present.
General Manager Logan.
Present.
Deputy County Counsel Ellison.
Present.
Great. And presenters, consultants, and staff are accounted for.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. First, I'd like to announce that as a courtesy, any members of the public having objections to the proposed special assessments for the costs associated with the abatement of hazardous weed, brush, and rubbish on properties, as listed in the attachment to Resolution 26-09 for Agenda Item 6C, you're being given the opportunity to discuss this issue with Santa Clara County Weed Abatement Manager Garrick Ioselewski before providing public testimony under that agenda item 6B. So if there are any members of the public present who would like to speak privately with him, can meet in the back room here. Is there anyone here who'd like to take advantage of that? Making sure. I don't see any. Just want to make sure, offer that to the public.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see any raised hands online.
We also have any online. You
Nope.
can also.
None.
Very great. Great. One other item. We want to take a minute to congratulate our operations project manager, Paige Russell, who's back there, who has earned, and this is a big title, National Fire Protection Association Certified Community Wildlife Mitigation Specialist certification. And by the way, this is an achievement that's as big as the title itself. This reflects more than 6 months of study, extensive field experience conducting HIZ assessments, and we know how much she's done with HIZ assessments, and successful completion of a rigorous certification exam. She also joins a select group of certified community wildfire mitigation specialists, including our own technical analyst, project manager, Ryan Cronin, who's already won. So we should congratulate him as well, since we've really never appreciated his expertise there as well. Congratulations, Paige. And thank you for everything and your dedication. And it really is wonderful. Okay. Tonight's agenda is compact in order to make sure we have time and energy left for a closed session at the end of the meeting. But every item on this agenda is really interesting and influential and significant. So it should be really interesting, and we'll just move right into it. First, item 3, public comment. Persons wishing to address the commission on any subject not on the agenda may do so now. Please note the commission is not able to undertake extended discussion or action tonight on items not on the agenda. They may be referred to staff for appropriate action, which may include placement on the next available agenda. District policies to limit public testimony to 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have any public comments on items not on the agenda?
I see none.
Okay, great. In that case, we'll move to item 4, agenda amendments and changes. I'd like to note for item 4, I'd like to note a clerical correction to the published agenda. Under item 13A, the agenda references Government Code Section 54857. The correct citation is Government Code Section 54957 for closed sessions concerning the general manager performance evaluation. This is a clerical correction only and does not change the substance of the agenda item. Okay, is there any commission discussion or any changes to the agenda tonight? Any reason to? Didn't expect any. Let's see. In that case, let's just move to item 5.
Oh, actually, you'll entertain a motion and we'll vote on that, on
Do we-
the
do we-
change. Yeah. I
Oh,
think
we have to,
Michelle-
okay, we have to vote for
we
that
need
change.
to?
I apologize.
Oh, no, we don't have to if it's not needed. Thank you. Okay, not
Okay.
needed.
Excellent. Moving on to item 5, consent calendar. Any comments from staff on consent calendar items? There's a lot of things in those reports, so I assume everyone's been through those. Okay, I would entertain a motion in a second. Will the commissioner making the motion and the commissioner seconding the motion please state your names for the recording?
Go ahead.
Tyson moves approval.
Thank you.
Tonka seconds.
Excellent. Any other discussion? Public comments on consent calendar?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to comment on 2 items. One item B, which is the financial report.
Mhm.
I'd just like to bring to the district's attention that the budget suggested that there'd be a 3.9 million drawdown in cash. In reality, for the year, at least preliminary, there's $3.4 million extra, which is a delta of $7.3 million, which means the district ended up the year with $53 million in cash, $10 million more than was budgeted. And there's still $500,000 anticipated to come in interest earnings. The other item I'd like to talk about is item 5G, which has to do with the Elena Fremont evacuation report. And I don't really have enough time to go into it in detail, but what I want to bring to the district's attention is once again that I don't think the utilization of drones provides any benefit to this district, and the cost is large. And what I'll tell you is I investigated this matter. Captain Cronin did an excellent job on his report. He gave a preliminary report in May without having any benefit of the drone report. And the report that he gave for this meeting is exactly the same. The only difference is he's added the words that effective utilization of unmanned aircraft, identified treatment areas, and quantifiably measured hazardous fuel reduction. And that did confirm that the volume went down. Well, we don't need anybody to confirm that the volume went down. He hauled it away. He knows the volume went down. And the difference between the numbers of what he hauled away and what the report shows is tremendous. So what I'm telling you is these reports are not being used for an operational reason. They're not providing any data that can't be gotten on the ground. And the data that is provided is totally inconsistent with the report from the information that's given on the ground. I really suggest you look at the utilization of these drones. It's costing you around $10,000 every time you do an evacuation route. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
No, I see none.
All right, thank you. In that case, let's Items closed. Let's take a roll call.
Okay, President Spreen,
Yes.
Commissioner Basiji,
Yes.
Commissioner Kadambi,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes, but I'm abstaining from 5A because I was not in attendance at that meeting.
Okay, thank you. So the motion passes 6-0 with one absent and one abstaining on 5A only.
Great. Thank you. Moving on to item 6. 6A is an update on the Santa Clara County Weed Abatement Program proposed special assessments for the costs of abating hazardous weeds, brush, and/or rubbish. Santa Clara County Weed Abatement Manager Ioselewski will be providing us this report.
Good evening. Garrick Yoselewski, Santa Clara County Weed Abatement Program Manager. I'm here because tonight is the third step in a three-step process. The first step was to adopt a resolution declaring weeds a public nuisance. The second step was to adopt a resolution to commence the program and adopt the list for us to begin inspections in Los Altos Hills. And then tonight is the resolution to approve the fees that will go onto the property taxes for the work that has been conducted for us to recover our costs. So just as a refresher, properties are identified for the weed abatement program list either via complaints that we receive from the public, or we have inspectors who go in the field, and if they see a property that's out of compliance, they will identify that property as well. Once a property is identified, we will send them a warning letter to let them know that their property is out of compliance. We'll usually give them 2 weeks to bring the property into compliance before we go and do a reinspection. If we come out to do a reinspection and the property is still out of compliance, we'll add them to the list. And then from there, we will begin a 3-year process where we will go and do an inspection annually until we see that the property is in compliance for 3 years. We do charge an inspection fee as well as administrative fees and abatement costs if necessary for us to send our contractor out to bring the property into compliance. So tonight is the hearing to take the assessment report that we've provided to you and approve it before it can go onto the property tax bills for this year. You will notice that there are a significant number of properties that are missing from that report as opposed to the report that was approved earlier this year. Main reason for that is we did not complete the inspections of all those properties before we had to submit the report for this hearing to happen. We have since then completed all of the inspections in Los Altos Hills for the year, and those fees for inspections and any work that will follow for those inspections will be rolled over to next year's property tax bills, and you'll see those appear on next year's assessment report. So
Great.
happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any discussion? Oh, I saw Jim's hand go up. Go for it.
I'm just wanting to ask you a question for clarification purposes. If I'm not mistaken, you were initially more or less tagged about 13 properties and you dropped it down to 4, and now we have 10. Am I reading it right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question
Yeah.
about the number of properties on the list?
Yeah, the number of properties on the list initially was somewhere in the neighborhood of 13, and then 9 were absolved and 4 remained. But now I'm seeing 10 that are being more or less flagged for. Am I reading it wrong? Maybe I'm totally confused.
I'm a little bit confused myself because we submitted a list. Corey, I think, has a.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I can clarify, the list of 13 that was narrowed down to 4 was from last month. That's the Santa Clara County Fire Department's list. So this is a different list. You received this list initially in March, at the March meeting, and I'm not sure what the total number of properties was. Probably close to 100 maybe, or 80.
I don't have the numbers.
I don't know the exact number, but yeah, it was a larger list, and I can research it and let you know offline the exact number.
So,
But
so your memory is right. It's just that
yeah, it's the
that
two different
doesn't flow
processes.
into this particular assessment.
I guess my next question is, if I'm confused after being around so often, I wonder if what residents will be confused as well. Is there a way that somehow this can be made more clear, that what the process looks like? There are the 2 separate processes running in parallel. One one targets one group and another one targets another group, and how these two reconcile together? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
two different processes, and I don't know if you, Garrett, can kind of speak.
Yeah, actually,
More-
I'll say
or-
one thing about it
yeah,
just to help out. Actually, this is the first year we decided we actually have a flow chart of this very confusing multiple processes, and we present those the past couple of years. And I actually chose not to ask to have it shown again this year, wondering if everyone was sort of tired of seeing it. But I totally accept your criticism that it is confusing. And I don't know if we should, we'll bring it up next time. We will bring it with every
Thank you.
single one.
Thank
So. Yeah, oh, Paige, did you have a comment for that?
I had questions about those two processes.
Is there anything, actually, well, do you want to clarify? You want to clarify those? I think it would be helpful, Mike, if you want to give a quick rundown.
See if I can do
Yeah.
justice and make this complicated system somewhat simple. The list that you were talking about, those were the county fire defensible space inspections that were conducted. So those are done every year. If the resident doesn't, or the property doesn't pass, then they are put, county fire recommends that they get forwarded onto the weed abatement list. The list that Garrick is talking about tonight is all the residents that have been collectively added to that list. They have to be compliant for 3 years in a row. So every year they're inspected. It's 77 properties, I believe, for those Altos Hills that are on that list right now. If they don't pass the inspection, then there are fees incurred. There's a fee that's part of the inspection process as well. That's what this hearing is about, to make sure that those fees are not contested. So it is two different processes, but they are related. So a resident could report another resident, ask them to be inspected by county fire or by weed abatement, so they could get in that program that way if they don't comply. So a resident that doesn't comply then would be put on the list. Those are all the hearings that we have. Residents are allowed to come and contest their inclusion into that program.
So please help me understand. If I report a neighbor, does he end up on their list or on Santa Clara County Fire District list?
Well, it all goes to the weed abatement list if they don't comply over time. And the reason why is county fire doesn't have anything to do with the tax roll, or if someone doesn't comply and they get into the weed abatement program, then residents won't incur any fees if they're compliant every year, except for the inspection fee. And that's all very clearly laid out to the residents. And it's not like you're automatically put on. There's a whole due process. That's the different hearings that you all hear. But it does get confusing. I agree.
Thank you very much.
Is it fair to say that this is sort of tonight's approval is sort of the final stop for everyone who's gone through and has not sort of yet completed all the criteria to get back into the clear?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that you approved the addition of 2025. Anyone that wasn't approved were added back in February.
Mhm.
And those are newly added properties. And there's a list of 70 something properties that are in the program. This is the step in the process where whether the resident passed or if they didn't pass and weeds were abated, then the county is coming to you to say, these are the fees that were incurred, and this is a hearing to approve or not the fees.
Thank you.
So yes, does that make sense? I know it's a bit
Everybody
confusing.
else?
Oh,
Does that
thank
help?
you. Yeah, so that's the flow chart
Yeah.
that tells you, but even that, it can be kind of confusing just to look at that alone. Any other questions? No? Okay. I'm happy we can
Well,
talk as well at any
actually,
point if you have questions.
Jim, do you want us to go through this real quickly to explain this chart?
I have seen this chart multiple times and I've gone through it multiple times. What I was trying to really get, the message I was trying to get across as a resident of the hills, if I get tagged, do I blame it on, or not blame is wrong, is the do I associate that with the agriculture department or the county fire department? Or how do I reconcile that in my mind and find my way through this maze?
So if I may, let me see if I can rephrase that question. This is kind of our process. What is the resident process?
Yeah.
How did they find out how this came to them in the first place?
Yeah.
And I think you can probably
Yeah.
speak to the communication that goes to them when they're first flagged.
Yes. Multiple forms of communication. I think we can both speak to this. There's been a lot of collaboration with the district, with the county, and with Santa Clara County Fire Department. Multiple modes of communication for residents to be informed that they are not compliant. We want to help them come into compliance. So for example, with County Fire, they let us know every step of the way. We have 13 properties. That's where you saw 13 and then it went down to 4 because we all work together. Let's get these residents educated on what they need to do and how to get them into compliance. And then at the end, there were only 4 and all of those residents were unreachable. They're out of the country, not living, here. So, and then when it comes to weed abatement, Garrick has done an amazing job of changing the materials that he sends out to the residents. We send a letter as well out to residents saying, we're just letting you know you're in this program. You have the opportunity to come and contest your inclusion. This is the hearing date. County Weed Abatement also sends out those letters. County Fire, when they're going through their process, they send out multiple letters, door hangers, give them the utmost opportunity. The website is also super informative. So I think we're not running into, you'll note, there aren't a lot of people showing up at these hearings because I think we give our residents the opportunity to talk to us about it. We get them in touch with Weed Abatement or with County Fire, and we all work together to really help residents to get to be compliant. So I don't think you would find yourself in that situation. Hopefully.
I'm not worried about me.
I know you're not.
I'm spending multiple amounts of money trying to keep my property
Yes.
in compliance.
Right.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the average Joe in the hills.
Yeah. So
Thank
we're
you.
doing everything we can
Yeah.
to reach out and make the process as clear as
you.
possible. Did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you summarized it pretty well, but in general, if, to answer your original question, if a neighbor complained about you, would that go to my program or to County Fire? I think it would probably come to me. I believe that County Fire, and correct me if I'm wrong, they are focused primarily on the WUI areas and they do a certain number of properties in the WUI areas every year. Typically complaints that come to us can be either in the WUI areas or not in the WUI areas. We cover more ground than just the WUI. So
I apologize. I just want to ask one more question and I'll shut up. Are you concerned about the hazard map, the moderate, high risk and very high risk? And the county fire is more or less concerned about the WUI area?
I can't really speak to County Fire and what they're mainly concerned about. That's my understanding, but we are concerned about the fire hazard severity zone areas as well as areas that are not even on the not identified as being in one of those zones. We look at pretty much everything.
Got it.
Great.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you for the on the spot update on how this all works. Let's see, where are we in that case? I'll ask if there's any public comment on this report. Seeing none.
No, I see none.
Okay, great. In that case, we'll move on to item 6B, the public hearing on the proposed special assessments for the costs associated with the abatement of hazardous weeds, brush, and/or rubbish growing on certain described properties. I will now open the public hearing. Time is 7:29 p.m. Please note, if any members of the public would like to contest the inclusion of their name or parcel number in Exhibit A of Resolution Number 26-09 of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District Board of Commissioners to adopt the weed abatement report and order the cost of abatement to be a special assessment on their property tax roll, now is the time to do so. Any and all persons interested having any objections to said list or to any matter contained therein may appear and be heard. Are there any comments from the public?
No, I see none.
Okay. Okay, in that case, I will close the public hearing. It is closed. Time is 7:30 p.m. Item 6C is a resolution 26-09 adopting the weed abatement report and ordering the cost of abatement to be a special assessment on the identified properties. Mr. Ioselewski, are there any changes that need to be made to Exhibit A before we proceed?
I do not believe so. The new one's been posted. Okay, yeah, we did work with one property owner to reduce the abatement cost amount because we did determine that the contractor did more work than what was actually needed to bring them into the minimum fire safety standards. So we worked directly with them to reduce their costs, but I think that's now what's part of the
Yeah,
agenda.
correct. That's what was posted with the agenda.
Excellent, great. That's a good to hear. Okay. Are there any clarifying questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Oh, wait, Jim has a question, please.
My question is the dollars that I saw in front of these 10 properties are extremely high. $4,000, $5,500, $4,500. They're in thousands of dollars. They're not in hundreds of dollars. And I'm wondering how those numbers are arrived at.
Sure. So when you see the higher dollar amounts that are in the thousands of dollars like that, that means that we had to actually go and perform abatement work on those properties. So that includes the cost of abatement that our contractor bills us for, as well as all of the administrative fees and inspection fees that get charged to those properties. So, the fees are pretty high compared to previous years, as we discussed in the previous hearing. So when they all get added together with the abatement costs, it does total, quite a big sum of money, unfortunately.
Thanks, sir.
And that means they had a chance to do the abatement themselves prior to that and just didn't respond generally.
Right. Yeah. For the most part, that is the case. There are certain situations where the property owner actually does request the county to perform the work for them.
Mm-hmm.
So in those situations, we do the abatement work because they have asked us to do so. So some of the numbers you see on there are related to those properties as well.
Okay. Great. Okay. I will entertain a motion in a second.
Warren moves to approve 26-09.
Kadambi seconds.
Thank you. Any discussion? I don't see any here. Any public comment on this item? Hearing none. Let's take a vote.
All right. President Spreen,
Yes.
Commissioner Basiji,
Yes.
Commissioner Kadambi,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
The motion passes 6-0 with one absent.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Moving on to item 7, the fire chief report. Item 7A is the monthly report for June 2026, and item 7B is the June report for Station 8. Fire Chief Kirkhoff, if you could provide us those reports.
Good evening, President Spreen. First of all, again, thank you. There's definitely a space where inspections and referrals can be complicated. I think that overall, Paige Russell did an excellent job in highlighting some of the nuances. We do have Hector Estrada on the call. Before I jump into my report, I just want to make a formal announcement that then Assistant Chief Hector Estrada has recently been promoted to Deputy Fire Chief Hector Estrada. So Hector Estrada is taking the role of basically being in the number 2 position. There are 2 number 2, or actually technically right now 3 number 2 positions in the organization. He brings with him just the enormous body of knowledge and work in working in the fire prevention division for county fire for the last 5 years, plus the 25 years he brought from San Jose. So I just want to kind of lead off because he is on the call, and because I will be on vacation next month, he will be reporting out the monthly report in my absence. And so with that said, I'll just jump into the report and we'll just kind of walk through. Again, the monthly report is to highlight the district and really the fire department overall and what we're doing in terms of collaboration. You can see there that the FIFA World Cup was a big focus for the department, especially for the high-level administrative staff. And we continue to work on just community education and working collaboratively with partners. We can go to the next page. We are seeing just a reprieve again in vegetation fires. We've had this really very strange, if you will, and when I say strange, just a lot of moisture recovery through the evening. We've got cloud cover. Yes, we typically will have the influence from the ocean that comes over in terms of fog, usually burns off sometimes around 10 or 11, but we're really getting pretty significant cloud cover. We did get some fires today, but again, it's in the grass. That's where we expect them to burn early in the fire season. With that said, what we're seeing overall is just again, structure fires, vegetation fire response, and we do have, and we continue to have down there the wildfire preparedness workshop trainings. The one on August 27th will be at the Los Altos Community Center. Next slide, please. So when we dig into the data, again, it's just a space of, this is just the June report. And again, Los Altos Hills County Fire District typically, when I report out, usually is around 80 incidents. I see that for last month, we had about 98, a little higher than typical. We did have a vegetation fire on the 2500 block of Fremont Road behind Gardner Bullis Elementary School. This one is interesting because this fire comes in kind of in the urban area, and you'll see it in the next slide when we do go there in terms of the metrics or the bar graph. And then we did have community education events. But as far as the call breakdown, you see pretty representative of our monthly averages of medical being, again, your most significant portion of the calls within Los Altos Hills County Fire District. Next slide, please. So here is where, when we look at reflex and urban versus rural, you don't have a lot of urban calls or urban areas in the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. Really, it's a challenge for us because as we move to taking maps that we had and put them into the CAD, and when incidents pop up, they don't necessarily pop up right when the CAD switches over. So as an example, I dug into this one and I said, that's weird. We've got a 3-minute, and I think it's reported out as 5-second call processing time. And this again is just for fire data, which again, there's not very many for this month, right? We typically don't have a lot of fires in Los Altos Hills, and one call can completely throw off what would be the average times. And again, you only had 2 fire responses in June. So really small sample size here. And ultimately, we see that there's an issue when we looked into it with really how it hit the cell tower and when the call got transferred over. So we're going back and looking to refine and again, improve the process to ensure that the data is captured accurately. But here, your 3-minute and 5-second call processing time for 2 fires doesn't accurately represent what occurred, and we are researching that with CountyCom. As far as for medical calls, again, that's again your line share, as noted before. We're performing well within what our benchmarks and what our laid out expectation is for the district. And overall, again, that includes, remember, total reflexes, call processing, turnout time, travel time to on-scene time. So that's what you see overall for the 52 medical responses in June. Next slide, please. This is the total response statistics for all of the department. And really what we're looking at here is the department as a trend year by year, getting busier, staying the same. And again, statistically, I will say that year to date, we're still within 700, 800 calls of where we were last year. So maybe not too significant, but we always keep an eye on that. And then we look again at what our percentages are. So this is more a global look at county fire rather than just a county, Los Altos Hills County Fire District look. And I think that's the last page is more public, just safety, community safety, and just things that we push out to help the community just be aware of some of the community education campaigns we may have. That is the end of the district's report without Station 8. I can pause there before we move on to the Station 8 report.
Any commissioner questions on that?
Awesome.
Yes.
And so, Chief,
Given the fire today in Fremont, Sunil, I know we had predicted the fire season as being quite low key and just brush fires, but has your view changed of the fire season this year, or it continues to be the same?
I think where we're at, and I say this because we got like sprinkling like just this week, right? And then we even got rain last week. So what's interesting is that it's the grass. So what caught on fire there and what moved really quickly, because wind will carry the grass and it will move it extraordinarily fast. And we saw right away the notification because we're the region coordinator, we started looking at what resources we have region within region 2 and then within the op area. And we were requested, we had already spooled up resources to go to that fire if we requested. Alameda County requested the neighboring agency, Contra Costa County, and they went and did structural protection for that fire. So for that neighborhood in particular that was threatened, and again, I know that they requested a lot of aircraft. We had, I wouldn't say a competing fire, but down in South County off of 152, there was a grass fire as well, and we were battling that fire. And so really the resource navigation is with these grass fires right now, and the grass fires move fast. And so we want to get a jump on it and really try to get our arms around it and contain it as quickly as possible. So as far as brush fires, because that's really what Los Altos Hills has a lot of. Like you all are doing an extraordinary job really reducing the fuels, especially in the grass ahead of wildfire season or fire season. And so, again, grass being short takes a longer time for that to move. Grass being taller moves very quickly with the wind. So overall, we're seeing what we expect. Today, we knew it was a hot day, 90 degree, but it's really the wind. It wasn't the temperature that got the fire moving. It was the wind. So all that said, we see a downward trend in temperatures, more cloud cover coming in this week, and we'll just keep monitoring the weather, which again, usually is the things that may be in alignment should there be a vegetation fire.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? George?
Not really a question, but it fits in here because you mentioned the fire at Gardner Bullis, which is the elementary school in town.
Yeah.
And it's quite an interesting experience because I'm a leader of the Firewise community. This didn't fit because it was under consent, so I'm bringing it up now. And we identified in May the backside of the school as being one of the highest risk areas because of so much untreated weeds and then also just dead brush and all of this. And so this apparent arson fire occurred, was quickly treated, and I went out and then because I live nearby, and then I contacted the assistant superintendent of the school district. They immediately got rid of the weeds, but then I said, this isn't really enough. And they came back and they took 2 more passes, and it looks beautiful back there now. But I do think this is an interesting case of bringing together our Firewise efforts to say, as neighbors, we're keeping an eye out for things. It would have been a better story if we'd done it before there was a fire. But I will say this. The assistant superintendent told me and sent me a picture of some fireworks residue, so they aimed to do all this before the 4th of July. And I guess it's a good thing because somebody was firing stuff off there right after that fire. And I think it's just a sign of the nature of people and the risks that we're under. And I use this opportunity to go talk to 2 other neighbors and tell them their grass could use a little work too.
I would concur.
I actually walk in that area, and there's a lot of eucalyptus trees. So those are, very aromatic trees, and they have a lot of oils in them. So it is good that this whole thing was, doused before it became good job.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to Station 8, Court.
Yes, please. So again, Station 8 for the month of June, just 15 days or half the month. So it was not a full month. Was staffed by Palo Alto. This month in July, County Fire is staffing Station 8. So we're only seeing, again, this very small window and early on in the fire season. And again, a time period in which we had a lot of cloud cover and a lot of coastal influence, meaning the fog coming over in the morning and really providing some moisture recovery overnight. So with that said, as per expected, we did not expect too much activity. They did go to one EMS call, one grass fire. And again, they have a different records management system than we do. So we do sometimes take a little bit of time to try to get some information from them. So that's all I have. I don't have any further details, but if the commissioners would like further details, I can certainly ask Palo Alto Fire for more details on that grass fire.
Any other questions here? Nope. Any public comments on either of these reports?
I see none.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate it, and have a good vacation next month. We'll
Thank
look
you.
forward to
Thank
the
you all.
new deputy, new
Okay,
assistant.
Thanks.
Thanks. Moving on to item 8, I-280 shaded fuel break project. This will be we're up and ready to go. Finance and IT Manager Morale producing this
President
report.
Green, members of the commission. It's an honor to fill in for operations managers Aida Fairman as we speak. She's overseas, I think, traveling to Japan as we speak. So I'm giving this introduction on her behalf. This item 8A really is just a presentation of the update of what's going on with I-280, what's in process and what's been completed on I-280. You'll hear from me, you'll hear from TRC, Justin Hansel-Durbin, and then Eugenia Woods as well right after me. What we're in the process of doing right now is we're responding to Caltrans requests for information in the process of issuing the encroachment permit. That's going on as we speak. There's a lot of communication and collaboration in terms of the encroachment permit, which is a very important part of the process. We are, as you know, the solicitation ended a couple weeks ago, and the staff team is continuing and negotiating with the contractor at this point in time. We're going through contract provisions, and we're looking at discussions with them relative to the pro forma agreement that's in place that was issued with the RFP. We've had 2 or 3 meetings up to this point. We have another meeting scheduled this week as well. So those discussions are continuing as we speak. We are also in the process of developing an agreement with TRC now, again, for the project management of this I-280 project as well. And the county council, Michelle in particular, is helping us with that process as well, and that's going on. We're trying also to conclude requirements necessary for tribal consultations. There we are concluding a request for a visual impact assessment. And at the same time, we're developing outreach and communications plans as well. As these items are concluded and developed, we hope to issue a notice of intent to award the contract. And we are scheduling dates for the commencement of the I-280 project. We anticipate potentially coming back to this commission in August for award, but those discussions are happening as we speak. So with that, I will next hand it over to Justin Hansel-Durbin to discuss the schedule in particular. I do need to remind the public and the commission that we're in the middle of negotiations at this point in time. So there's very little detailed information we can release relative to our negotiation process in terms of the solicitors and the details of that process as well. So with that, I will hand it over to Justin Hansel-Durbin.
Thank you very much, Russ, and thank you, Commission, for allowing us to present. This is our schedule that brings us from the start of the project up through contractor mobilization. We've presented this schedule several times throughout this process, and here it is again. The red lines kind of indicate line items that we've completed. And the green circles are items that are being worked on now or are in the future. In our high priority items. The Caltrans review meeting doesn't have a strike through on it. That was based on Caltrans' request not to have that meeting earlier on in the process. They wanted to wait to have meetings until after we'd submitted the encroachment permit after 100% design. So now that the encroachment permit has been submitted, we are on schedule and we are meeting on their schedule and regularly meeting, I think, weekly with Caltrans and working through all the different comments they had, making sure everyone's on the same page. Then in line item 13, that is confirming that we've started that encroachment permit process. We are hoping to get the encroachment permit. I think it says 724, I think we did have a recent update on that. It should say 731. So our hope is by the end of the month to have encroachment permit from Caltrans approved. That we're still obviously having conversations and clarifications with Caltrans, but that is our goal for the end of the month. And as Russ said, there is still ongoing negotiations with the contractor. So that's line item 16 there. Our hope is that based on, everything going smoothly, and the presentation to the commission next month, that we can have all of that completed by August 18th. That's definitely the goal there. Aligned with that, we immediately start working with the contractor on their submittals, and then mobilization early September. So if you were to have looked at this last version of the schedule, we're about 1 month behind the schedule, and that was based on the reason for that 1 month delay is just more extended negotiations with the contractor and more clarifications and collaboration with Caltrans, pushing out the encroachment permit and the contract negotiation. But in the end, it's definitely best to have all those conversations up front, make sure everybody's on the same page, bring in all the experts, and make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row before we hit the ground running for construction. I think that's it on my end. I'm going to hand it over to Eugenia.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Justin. So here's the field operations planning side of things. The DUDEC field surveys report, you may recall that we mentioned those had to happen in March and June due to what types of botanicals and things were blooming. You have to do those reports during the blooming cycle. So I just received the final draft of that, and we will review it and finalize it, and that will be available shortly. The updated archaeology report that you've heard us mention, the non-confidential version of that is completed and has been submitted to Caltrans, our leadership team, and the Tamiya Nation, so that public facing report is now cycling through and supporting the other requirements for our encroachment permit. Correspondence with the Tamiya Nation concluded, its first conclusion, if you will, was on Friday. There is no areas of concern at this time after they've received the data for the reduced project area. You may remember all the way back to 21 and 22, we had a larger project area when we submitted for the FEMA grant than we currently have now. We're only in the Caltrans right away as our current project area. So those updates had to cycle through their natural resources folks. And the areas that were removed were their potential areas of concern. So when we don't have those anymore, the cultural confirmation has been submitted to Caltrans. The outreach plan continues its development. You may have noticed these slides. You see I-280 there in the background? Got all your residents there on the right. On the very first slide opening this report, we have a project-specific logo. We went ahead and started all of our outreach branding so that as we roll forward with the outreach that will correspond with having our veg management contractor on board, people will know these are district products, these are district media releases, this is the authoritative information. What we've been taught through the evacuation route program, and also back when I was on SR 17 doing the very similar project, was it's kind of like that game of telephone. By the time it's repeated on Nextdoor or repeated on the different social media channels, it gets diluted or it gets incorrect. So we wanted to make sure that it was very obvious the communication was from the district, and this was the bottom line of the information, and then they can come back to us, with questions and contacts. So we're building the collateral, we're building the infrastructure behind, mobilizing all that social media and outreach. The first permit was received, so we are moving along. Midpin has given us the permit for the temporary staging area in the Deer Meadow area at the southern end of the project. So that's excellent. We've got our first permit and our second staging area in place. As you've heard mentioned a couple of times, the Caltrans encroachment permit application process continues. We got multiple requests for additional information late on July 3rd, which of course was right before the weekend. And then we had multiple people on the permit administrative team on their side on vacation. So we returned the information they requested the beginning of last week when all of their team returned from vacation. And then I returned again yesterday the 2 outstanding items that they asked for. So we have now given them all of the secondary or tertiary or however many cycles we're at right now in exchange of information. And that includes the archaeology non-confidential report that I just mentioned. So we're expecting to hear good things on the review by next Friday, as Justin corrected the date to the 31st. So very close, where the momentum is excellent at this point. Next slide. And there we are. There's our I-280 shaded fuel brake, the dedicated logo. And then of course you see our template in the back for the PowerPoint slides. End of report.
Thank you. Okay, any comments, questions up here? I see Mark.
Yeah, I just want to thank the team that we're making good progress and understand where we are, the sensitive nature with the contractors and negotiations. So thank you for pushing that along. And got to say, I'm looking forward to an important meeting on this in August, where we should hopefully have our permits and our contractor and be ready to go.
Great, great.
Thank you, team.
Any other comments up here? Nope. Any public comments on this?
I see none.
Seeing none. Okay, great. We will move on then to item 9. This is the early wildfire warning detection system report. General Manager Logan will be reporting for us. Let's see the mic.
Thank you, President Spreen, commissioners, staff, and public. The memorandum report in your packet starts with a detailed review of the N5 shield purchase, development, installation, and activation process by the County of Santa Clara as an early warning wildfire detection system and approved as a pilot program for the county WUI. The district has researched and studied the N5 and other N5 programs in surrounding agencies and the county pilot program. The district considered installation within the district of approximately 10 to 15 sensor units with a focus on open space and high-risk areas, WUI locations. District staff also suggested that 3 of the sensors be located in nearby county parks within proximity of the district to test the connectivity of the network and as a regional benefit and a partnership with the county and to increase protections to district residents. The district allocated funds of $250,000 to procure the N5 shield for a district pilot program in the 24-25 budget. The district pilot project was not initiated due in part to complexities, significant uncertainties, and the opportunity to watch and observe the initiation of the county N5 pilot program and the emergence of the developing technologies. No district funds were expended, and the allocated funds for the N-Shield program are rolled into the 26-27 budget. The district benefited from pilot testing reports, communications of alerts, and responses occurring in other agencies and in the network being developed by the county, thereby evaluating the feasibility of the N5 pilot program for the district. Staff now requests that the district enter into a discussion with the county to reimburse the county for procurement and installation of up to 5 N5 shield sensors in nearby county public lands outside of the district, but near to the county network of planned sensors, such as Rancho San Antonio County Park. The intention is to partner, provide regional benefit, and aid protection to district residents. Once N5 operation details are known and early issues resolved by the county administration will consider other agencies partnering in the WUI to help support expanded N5 coverage. I was also asked to comment on Alert California cameras. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Prevention CAL FIRE has partnered with the University of California, San Diego to leverage AI technology that utilizes HD cameras throughout the state of California to distinguish between smoke and other air particles, such as smog or mist, to have early wildfire detection for potential wildfire fires. System for Los Altos Hills. The district can coordinate and collaborate with the fire department to investigate and gather data on how the county N5 Shield activation coordinates with the Alert California cameras as a system to provide a combined technology system for early wildfire warning alerts. The district seeks to continue its partnership with the county and the fire department to further understand the emerging technologies of N5 combination with Alert California cameras and other technology that are developing. But this is a project that will take a significant amount of time. Meanwhile, I would like to follow the recommendation for the commission to provide direction to the general manager to enter into discussions with the County of Santa Clara for reimbursement of up to 5 N5 Shield sensors purchased by the county to be located in a nearby county N5 network area with proximity to the district and report back at a future commission meeting. So that's the end of my report. And it summarizes the memo, I think, pretty well. So thank you. Happy for any questions.
Who's got comments? Jim?
First question, to me, this system integrated together with the camera and the N5 is almost like nose and eyes kind of looking at a problem, namely the problem of emerging fire. The question I have for you is the camera system, is it rely on existing cameras, or there's some new cameras that are going to be brought into the picture that are specially designed for this purpose?
Yeah, I'm not real familiar with how the Alert California cameras work. It's pretty complex, and it's a new technology that's emerging. County Fire is more expert on that than I, and County Fire is working with a couple of committees in Los Altos Hills and with me, so I can be more fluent in that. But I really can't give you any. I would have to put a program together and bring County Fire in to really answer that.
Totally
but in the
understandable.
meantime, I think we're pretty familiar with how the N5 works.
Okay. So this authorization that you're asking from the commission allows you to work with the county on just the N5, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I don't want to get too far out ahead of the commission,
Thank you.
So rather than start those conversations, I wanted to come back, check in, give you an update, and then ask if I could go out and do that kind of consultation with the county, because they just activated the N5s on June 15th. They've got a lot of work to do now to see how they deploy. And that's going to be very helpful to us before we try to emulate and start a pilot project of ourselves. But on the other hand, we have time that if we put these 5 sensors over in county parks, then we could be a part of that program.
One other question, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Do we have expertise in-house to be able to evaluate what county's given us in terms of data and information?
Yeah, we'll be able to have some of that data. Yes. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I was wondering whether we have expertise amongst ourselves to be able to evaluate that.
Well, I would work with Fire Safe Council and the N5 developers to have that kind of data along with the county. So we also are working and conversing with Woodside that has the N5s installed, City of Palo Alto, and Stanford Lands. So we have the N5 network on the north of the district and down in the south of the district. But because we're more aligned with the county to be able to have that information of data, then I think that's the good ploy that I'm working toward.
Thank you.
Sure. Other questions?
Yeah, George?
Thank you for that report. And reading the background information, I could see why it's taken longer than I thought it would, and it's been more complicated. There's more moving parts. I do believe, did you have a presentation or with our town's technology committee, and I just want to know, did they weigh in terms of, or did you even ask them in terms of this technology and its applicability?
Yeah, so I had about an hour and 20-minute meeting with the technology committee with Deputy Chief Glass. And we looked at all of the early warning detection systems. And the technology committee asked us to focus on the N5 and the Alert California camera systems. And that's where there seemed to be some prospects of a dual working between those two technologies. Because one is the particulate sensor and the other one is the actual camera sensor.
Visual.
And so oftentimes when one goes off, the other will pick it up, or the other will pick it up and the other goes off. So there seems to be some synergy there. But the technology committee did look into that. They are continuing to work with Central Fire on that, Fire Department. Then I asked them to work with EPRC. And EPRC is also, I've given 2 reports to EPRC now. EPRC is the Committee for Los Altos Hills Emergency Preparedness Response Committee, and worked with them, given some updates on N5s. And then also you'll notice in the memorandum that I put together, there's that whole page of reports, 2 pages of the links to all the reports that have been given and all the background. So I think we've studied a lot. Now I'm looking for a way of taking action, but not taking action and recommending a pilot program at this time, waiting for the watch and see as to how the deployment works for the county, but then also being a part and providing some N5 sensors in jurisdictions near us in the county parks.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Other comments? I think it's worth bringing up just the elephant in the room in terms of she's looking for direction from us. There are pluses and minuses here. I think the key things I hear are the county has put together a string of, I think, around 10, that's sort of from us south on that 15. They've already got 15 up. That doesn't quite come to us. So we would be extending their test at the same time. And it's great that they've actually finally gotten around to, integrating that, because it's an integration process. What happens when these things go off? Who looks at them? Who do they trigger off, and so forth? At the same time, we should speak to the fact that DHS, Department of Homeland Security, did a test with N5s that ended like a year and a half ago, as I recall, in 2024, and they concluded this didn't work very well. So I just don't want us to, I want us to make sure that in the public eye that we're aware that this is still an experimental technology. This is not a, hey, this is great, let's go solve the problem. I appreciate us being innovators and sort of trying anything out. It's the thing that's out there. The county is eager to really test this because it might work well in our between the new training they're doing for it, the advancements in it, but it's still experimental. Yeah. So we don't go in promising things. Now it is nice to have, if these things do provide any benefit, we're going to be first in line to having our residents benefit from it. So I just want to bring that out to recognize that this is not a fully working technology yet. The county is committed to doing it and are testing it and are running it. And this is us helping participate in that, because there may be a network effect. How much of a network is needed to make it valuable? We don't know. But I just want to put that out there so that there's no, no complaints about, hey,
it doesn't work.
And it may not.
Yeah.
But I would hope residents would want us to be trying things out. And I think that as the cameras pick up sort of more momentum themselves as well, we obviously want to be first in on that as well. So.
Since it's a pilot program, and I'm wondering how much, allocation is there for data collection?
I mean, the nice thing is we're really going to be relying on the county, since they're having to operationally put this in. They're the ones who have to look at the data and say, is this working for them as well? So and correct me if I'm wrong in saying that. So we're not going to be, I don't know how much we're going to be devoting our resources to having to determine, is this working or not? Because it's ultimately going to be the county's data comparing, yes, we had a fire, yes, it was triggered, or no, it wasn't. What were the situations that led it to working or not working? Some of the things in the DHS report were, if the wind's blowing that way, obviously it's not going to get it. How many are needed? What's the tuning required? The report didn't really go into detail about how much effort they put into it. So we may find the same things. We may find that it's more successful here, but I just want to make sure that's out in public sphere, that we consider this to be still an experimental phase. But personally, I'd like to see us not turn down any opportunity to try something that an organization like the county is already committed to and putting resources into doing a test right in our own backyard. So that's my feelings on it. But I want to make sure that the negatives are said as well. Okay.
One of the things that I find this technology intriguing is that, you know, if you're paying attention to the news, there's quite a bit of backlash against video surveillance systems. Because this is not a camera-based system, I think that it avoids a lot of privacy concerns that residents might have with detection technology. And so I think it's worth pursuing for that reason.
That's a good point. Very good point. Any other discussion up here? Okay. Any public comments? I see we have one.
I think you can go after me. Let me say that there's no evidence that these things work. The DHS wrote a report that basically says these things don't work. They're not reliable, and they don't provide an early warning system. There are many of these devices in this area, and I've made an effort to contact the organizations that are responsible for these devices. I've talked to Oakland, I've talked to Stanford, I've talked to Woodside, and I've talked to Palo Alto. None of them will recommend installing these devices. And we also have firsthand experience. There was a fire a year ago on Page Mill Road, and there was an N5 sensor within a mile of that did eventually detect the fire 40 minutes after the firemen were already putting out the fire. And just in the month of June, although the chief didn't know what the report was in Palo Alto for the one fire, it was the fire on Arastradero Road. And that fire, there was an N5 sensor within 75 yards, but that sensor was down. There was another sensor within 3/4 mile of that, and it didn't provide a notification for roughly 30 minutes. So there's absolutely no indication, and despite all my efforts, I have not found a single positive report in the literature on these N5 sensors. So I don't believe people did the legwork to understand how the sensors have been used in the past. And I think the county has gone off on a mission, and I wish them luck, but the density of these sensors to be effective needs to be less than a mile. They're putting 15 sensors in a county that has 1,000 square miles. There's no way they're going to provide an early warning system. So I don't see any sense in Los Altos Hills County Fire District, that has no expertise in this area, to attempt to add 5 sensors that aren't going to be anywhere near close to us, in hopes of providing an early warning system. Lastly, I'll talk about the Alert California system. There's over 1,100 cameras in California today. 1,100 cameras, okay? Every fire that's been detected in this area, you can find on the Alert California website. If you get a notification from Watch Duty, the reason why they know there's a fire is because they looked at the Alert California system. That's how they found out there was a fire. So there hasn't been a privacy issue with regards to Alert California. There's 1,100 cameras, and you can go on it at any time and see the status of these various fires. So I don't think it's worthwhile to invest in this. Let the county figure out what they're doing with the 15 cameras, and at some later date, if it shows that they're worthwhile, then the district can consider them. I know CAL FIRE does not support the installation of N5 sensors. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Seth?
Good evening, Commissioners. Seth Shallett, CEO of the Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council. I just wanted to take a moment. I was actually involved in that FEMA report. They came out and they audited the installation of Stanford, Woodside, and Palo Alto, and I participated in the audit with the Department of Defense auditors. I've also asked, and she is available online, Deb Deininger is the chief CMO for N5, and I wanted to, at least if the commission would like, They have attempted to submit a report to the Department of Homeland Security to counter some of their findings in the initial report. And Deborah is more than able to speak to that. I will say that they have successfully caught several fires. The installation between Stamford, Woodside, and Palo Alto was a specific configuration by the Department of Homeland Security. It was to pilot different densities to determine what works best, the speed and the performance and the inter-network connectivity. So I just want to make sure that you understand that the premise of what was originally installed does not necessarily align with what the recommendations might be in the future. I'm certainly not here to defend the N5 performance. I just want to make sure that the council has the full understanding. And I have read the Department of Homeland Security report a couple of times, and unfortunately, they really didn't get to bring much of the Stanford, Palo Alto, and Woodside discussion into it. They really focused on specific findings, if I recall, in Tennessee. But I just wanted to let the commissioners know that Deb Beininger is on the line should you want to hear any feedback or comments from her relative to their position on the N5 or the FEMA report findings. Thank you.
I'm going to say no. I don't really want to have her come in tonight. That's not what the night's for. I think what we're looking. Yeah, please.
Are we making any decisions today on this?
What we're listening for here is direction to Jay potentially to go talk with County Fire. This is not a commitment. It's to come up with, to let her speak with them about how would we participate in their study. That gives her the opportunity to say, hey, what is the county's position on, what they're trying to prove from it in light of things. So it's not a commitment to buy,
Okay.
but it's to come back with, talk to the county, see what they propose for how we could participate in it. That's, I think, please don't.
Should we decide to?
Yeah, so it's direction tonight, not a commitment, if that's.
Yes, that is correct. Again, I just don't want to go out exploring and having conversations without the commission knowing, and for clear transparency to the public and to the commission to explain where we are, have these conversations, have the perspectives that we have, and then just go find more information. There's no decisions to be made. I just want to come back and then give another report, because otherwise I'm going to be asked, what's the status? What's the report? And it's all of these questions that I don't really have answers to until I have an opportunity to go get more information. And again, the county's just deploying it now, and they are strongly committed. You can listen to the June 25th report. There's a very strong commitment by the county that they will continue to deploy N5s. So with that in mind, I don't think we should just sit by the wayside and not have information. So this is just a request to gather information.
I mean, so we could direct her to say, let's just drop this. We don't like it.
No. But Jay, when you have these conversations, given that the county seems so committed to it, I'd like to understand their rationale.
Sure.
Given what we've heard
Absolutely.
today.
Sure. Will do. Very important.
Jim?
I guess my feeling is I've heard these pros and cons ever since we start talking about this technology, and it hasn't improved or hasn't gone away. So my feeling is that we really need to stay on course and find out what county discovers. But as a part of that, we have to be able to understand and absorb and digest the data that county gives us vis-a-vis our particular geography and the locations that we have significant risks of a fire. So for that reason, I think isn't it better if you have somebody within our organization that gets tasked with looking at that data with a very curious eyes and expertise to be able to find out if there is any gap in the data or in their understanding of the data, or are we more or less in a good shape to continue with the county? So that's, I guess what I'm really trying to say is that this is really great for Jay to engage the county on this issue, but we need to understand the data.
And, given that none of us are experts on this subject, the town does have a technology committee that understands it better. Mm-hmm. So once you come back with the information from the county, I would suggest you take it to the technology committee and get their views on it as well.
And one more thing is, are the cameras too few for that space that we have right now? So if we really don't know the efficacy of that system, if we have too few.
Well, that's part of the understanding of the data. how far apart can they be, and how much sensitivity do we expect from this device in terms of understanding detecting the molecules related to the wildfire. So.
But what is concerning was in the last fire, there was, a camera there. It picked it up at 40 minutes too late. So it was there. So sensor, okay.
Sensor, yeah.
So are we trying to put both, right? So we think that the combination will be more efficient, yeah.
But this is right now, it's just dealing with the
Yeah.
smelling only. And I think it's only worth finding out what the county's plans are. How long is this test running? How many years of commitment is it?
And what cost?
How advantageous is it if we add to their network? And what is the cost of that? And when's the determining date and so forth? So I think that kind of information I know we all want to participate in expanding this if it works.
For sure. I think it's a value. It's definitely a value to try something.
But if they're already trying it, why do we need to try it? I mean, does everybody need to try something? I don't think so. I mean, those are questions we should be asking.
So I guess the question is, when is the county to expect to get data back? Or even if it's early encouraging data, at what point does it make sense for us to then expand the network? Do they need it immediately to make the test valid? Or 6 months from now, will they have initial data and retuning and so forth? And that would be a good time to then roll out more.
Yeah,
I think sort of.
I can speak to that. So in the memo report, it said a couple of times that their next report from the county on the deployment of June 15th will be back at the end of fire season. To me, that language is October. So we'll have we'll have data in October.
Okay.
Yeah. There's fires to be had out there that will provide data for us for sure.
Are you getting a direction from us that you need? I'm hearing permission to please go talk to them, find out more about what their program is. What are the options for how we would participate to either waiting for results or helping provide results if it is helpful, so that we can provide resources in a way that makes this responsible.
Yes. And I think that's the question. We need to have more information, more data. No one can tell us that now because they don't have that. They haven't done the deployment assessment or analysis. And then does it make sense for us to do something such as 5 sensors? Maybe, who knows? I just threw that out as a starting point. So we could show that we have some faith and interest in the project, and not just be someone who's asking for a lot in return without offering something, kind of as a quid pro quo. So all of that is up for discussion at future meetings. Nothing's decided.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, it's going to take a portfolio of technologies and approaches, and some will work in different instances. I can easily picture any sensor might be near a fire and not spotted if the wind's blowing the other way. I'm not the expert on that, but I can just picture it's more complicated, and let's include this for the relatively small cost, I assume, to learn more about it.
Any comments? Okay. Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10, the 10-year budget forecast. Finance and IT Manager Morreale will be providing us this report.
Yes, Vice President Sprain, members of the commission, it's a pleasure to present the 10-year. We've not presented this before. We just came off of a budget season, and I'm really looking forward to this presentation. I would say that more than next slide, please. Thank you. I think more than a presentation, I really would welcome that it be a discussion, because that's really what a 10-year forecast is. I've presented 5 and 10 years before to organizations, and the great benefit of it is not so much the numbers. The numbers, of course, are important, but it's the discussion, it's the thought process, it's the aspirational discussion. So what I'd like to do tonight is talk about the 10-year analysis that you see before you, talk about the approach and the structure of it, talk about the assumptions that are made. Every forecast has a list of assumptions, and every forecaster is going to come up with different assumptions, as well. But I want to go through those assumptions and share with you the thought process. Also, the trends that we're seeing based upon historical data. And then where does this lead in terms of impact and strategic decisions? And then mostly, really, a discussion and comments and suggestions. And you can ask questions anytime. during this presentation, please, because it really, it's not so much, it's part science, it's more of an art. And it's really looking forward and coming up with our best crystal ball in terms of what we're seeing right now with actual numbers and budgetary numbers as well. This isn't the formal publication of the 10-year. Following this discussion this evening, then we'll craft this document with many of the pieces of information you see on this PowerPoint slide into a formal publication, because I believe it should become one of our core documents that we should issue every year, probably around this time, right after budget, or maybe right at the time of budget, we'll see, but most likely July and August of every year. So with that, let's get into the forecast. So if you look at forecasts, there's really some key elements to it. They're rolling, they're changing, they're dynamic, all right? They're constantly morphing. They're based upon historical data, but they're constantly morphing. They're based upon hypotheses, not necessarily facts. Of course, I'm using 5 to 10 years of data of history to build it. But at the same time, it's also based on kind of judgment and forecasts of what the future could hold. And then at the same time is the key, I think, really to going through a forecast is talking about the story and getting feedback and getting a reaction to that feedback to see how that shapes your decision making. I can tell you that internally, we did an informal forecast about 24 or 48 months ago when we were thinking about some elements of the budget that we were building back in 24, 25, 25, 26. And our internal forecasts told us to go forward with some items, but hold back on others. So this isn't something we just developed the past month or so. It's been in the background, but we're happy to release it this evening. Next slide, please. So you may recall back in 2025, we talked about this concept of a new fund, we were talking about a capital improvement project fund or an infrastructure fund. And in our discussions with the county, we landed on this top quadrant to the left, where we talked about infrastructure and major projects. And the reason why I bring that up is when I go through the 10-year forecast this evening, I'm going to put on the mindset of looking at our operations versus our capital. It's extremely important because operations, you would hope to manage those on a break-even basis. Capital, you expect to go negative when you're spending capital. Those of us that are familiar with a true CIP fund or an infrastructure fund know that those funds have very little to no revenue. They're just constantly an outlay of dollars. So when you see the forecast this evening, you'll see I've shifted those two components apart to make this presentation as well. And so this was really a good exercise that we went through 48 months ago when we had this discussion with the county. Yes, we didn't get our fund, but actually we got something that works just as well. And we call it the Infrastructure and Major Projects Cost Center, which you might see discussed in the budget when you look at the budget narrative. Next slide, please. So here it is. I've taken the budget, which was just adopted just last month, and I've split it into two sections here. What I call the general fund, and it's behind the dark area there. But the infrastructure and major project fund. I'll lead your eyes to the green shaded numbers. So the budget this year projected a use of fund balance of $3.1 million. But I'm really pleased to report that if you look at the general operations, the non-infrastructure operations, we have a balanced equation. We have a balanced budget. That's something very nice to be able to say. I know that the county put a lot of effort in making sure that they put forth a balanced budget. So by separating these two lines of cost, still it's the same budget. You can see that in the general fund, we have a positive of $463,000 and $214. But of course, the 26-27 budget, which was just adopted, also projects a significant use of fund balances. It suggests a significant use of fund balance for the I-280, as well as the use of reserves for the fire truck, which we know will be delivered. So this is a picture of the budget that was just adopted, but now concluding that operationally, we have a balanced budget. And I would hope every year henceforward, when we bring the budget to this commission, we can make that statement that it is a balanced budget, because that's a good foundational basis for creating any budget. So in essence, we took that concept and we created it on the screen. In fact, it's even evident in the adopted budget when you look at the descriptions. Next slide, please. So I want to take a leap of faith here and do a quick what if analysis without even getting into the 10-year analysis, without even projecting. And so what I did here is I took the budget that has been presented for this particular year, 26-27. And you may recall that we got asked this question during the budget. Our fund balance is quite large. It is. It's projected at $46 million. And I said, well, what if we just indicated at this point in time, without even doing a projection, before we get into that in the next few slides, what if we identified what we know and pretty confident that we will spend within the next 5 to 6 years? Where does that put us? So the column there that's called future uses projects what we think over the next 5-10 years will be taken out of future uses in both the committed funds and the unassigned funds. And these items are not a surprise. We know we're going to be spending about $2.3 million for the 2 fire engines, which we have a contract for. It's not in the budget because we haven't cut the check for it yet, but it will be coming out within the next, actually, that would be coming out within the next, I'd say 36 months. We know we also projected it here, and I'll get into the assumptions, that somewhere down the line, El Monte will need to be refurbished. That fire station will need to be refurbished. And so we put a price tag on that. The fire facility design is also in part of the rollovers, and we'll talk about that. So we know somewhere in the next 24 to 48 months, we'll be spending money for the fire facility design. And we still have that pegged number in the future, and I'll indicate where in the future that is, $15 million for a new fire facility, as well as the programmatic environmental impact report. So yes, this isn't a scientific trend analysis. You'll see it in a bit, but just taking what we know will be spent over the next 5 to 10 years, we can see the use of about $24 million out of our fund balance. So that takes you somewhere from 46 million down to 21 over the next 5 to 10 years. It's not the way to do a forecast, but it's a starting point. Start thinking about where do we know those expenditures will be. Next slide. And this is how it's shown graphically. It's shown graphically, the same numbers, just shown that if we look at future uses, and again, if we were to take those expenditures and incur them right now, what would happen? Well, this is what would happen. Having said that, just kind of, it's a starting point, but now we'll get into the actual 10-year forecast. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the assumptions as we get into the forecast that we put forth? First of all, we're assuming economic stability. I think we're pretty safe in Santa Clara County to assume economic stability. Having said that, though, we've all been through, those downturns. So they will happen somewhere in the future. We don't know where that will be, but this assumes economic stability over the 5 to 10 year course. We assume that staffing levels remain stable. This does not propose any increase in staffing levels. It keeps them at the 13.5 FTEs where they are. We assume that allocations which we've adjusted from the budget will be fully expended during any one year. We also assume, but this is a very strong assumption, actually, it's reality, that the fire apparatus, both the fire truck and the 2 engines, will be paid for and delivered as well. The I-280 construction project costs are in this forecast, the complete project over the course of 18 months. It was originally, we thought it might be a 3-year program. We know now it's going to be an 18-month program as well. And also we took a leap forward, and we indicated, we projected that if we're going to treat I-280 under this major contract now, major project now, might we not maintain it in the future? Might we not every other year spend some money and do portions of it potentially? potentially. And this is where the discussion comes in. Say we're making assumptions that, of course, we want the commission, not necessarily tonight, but we'd like to hear some comments, but even in the future, as we get into future budgets, what the thought process is about that. So we projected some future maintenance costs for I-280. We assume there's going to be a new facility design. We assume that there'll be a construction of a new facility within the next 5 to 10 years. We also assumed, although you won't see it in version 1 of the trend analysis, because I purposely left it out, but we will be showing you the impact of potentially funding additional fire staff. So the assumption here is if we're going to build a fire facility, we would be funding fire staff in that facility as well. And I'll get into that in a bit. At the same time, completion of the PEIR, it's a small dollar amount, but it's in there. We kind of normalized cost of living adjustments. We studied historical property tax. We used an average on that. And we indicated that we would keep our fire safety programs at projected but defined levels as well. We also kept in a robust growth in the HIZ program. And we included all the rollovers that we've identified so far. So maybe I'll stop at this point to see if there's any thoughts on that. Because these assumptions drive the entire forecast that you're about to see. Yes.
I do think on the assumptions around the new fire facility, I think we'd be prudent to build in adding 2 more pieces of fire apparatus into that budget, because there's no mythical pool of fire trucks to go there. Mm-hmm. So we build it, we staff it. I suspect that we'll need to probably provide the apparatus that goes in there in the bays too. So I think we'd be prudent if we added that to the model.
Okay, forward. Thank you, Commissioner. I will definitely work with Jay Logan, and we'll speak with the fire chief and talk about what that would look like as well. At this point we have not, but right. It may be a possibility.
Very good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So I have this is all very nicely. You've predicted a lot of things. But how about the housing mandates and things like that? We are expecting a higher density housing. There'll be more property tax, obviously, but there's also greater risks of fire and things like that. So has that been factored in?
Yes. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. The need for a new fire facility has everything to do not only with our current state, but also the new housing mandates as well. We believe it's a strong argument for having this new facility. Exactly. I have not factored in the property tax growth from those as well. I have not factored that in. What I have done is I've taken our current property tax base. I've assumed a conservative average, and you're speaking to a very conservative finance person here when it comes to revenues. I learned this many years ago that when it comes to revenues, you never chase the highest floating balloon. But having said that, I did. So yes and no. I did project property tax growth, but at the same time, I did not project in the unknown on the housing mandate. Having said that, though, the new fire facility definitely influenced by what you just mentioned. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, and next slide, please. So I'm going to lift up the hood a little bit, see what's under the hood in terms of assumptions made. Property tax, we know from working with the county that they actually lowered their property tax growth next year to somewhere in about the 4% range. I took an average. Our average seems to be around, actually, if you take our area, it seems to be between 5 and 6%. I took a conservative approach. I thought things may taper down. I eventually built up to about 5.25. Interest rate is built on a good foundation based upon the investment earnings at the county investment pool. At the same time, generally, I put in about operational and general services growth at 3%. You'll notice item number 4, the fire contract and battalion chief percentage. I have to state this. That line item is known. It's 5%. But one of the biggest single factors in this forecast has to do with the fact that this commission and General Manager Logan and Central Fire came to a conclusion on the 10-year forecast. If that conclusion was not reached, I'm not sure how we would have completed this forecast. And I think the answer would have been very, very, very different. So what we know now with the new 10-year agreement is that 5% is solid. And it really allows us to do many, many things. So, job well done with everybody, the county and the commission and General Manager Logan, because had that not been the case, I'm not sure if we would be looking at a 9%, 10%, 15% increase, which would have taken away many other opportunities had that one event happened. So thank you so much. In terms of the Palo Alto contract, that's in place as well. The zeros might be misleading. The zero means that we actually just came into a contract that did not increase the levels. And then I assumed beyond 3031, it might be another 5% increase as well. But you'll see, I also assumed in this forecast that once the new fire facility is built, we might temper down the funding at Palo Alto 8, but potentially. Don't know. I'm not sure if that's a good assumption at this point in time, but I put that into the factor. What's really important is what's below the line, not in percentages. These are all the dollars that go into the big dollars use of resources that you'll see. 26, 27 estimate. I-280, we think we're going to be spending about $5.2 million. This has nothing to do with the RFP or the contract. It's just our estimate based upon our budget. We know we're going to be spending $1.9 million on the fire truck. We'll be spending that most likely January of 27. We're going to be spending an additional money. The I-280 is split between potentially 2 years. So we think there's about $6 million. The apparatus, the second year, 2.3. Fire facility study, $1,065,000 split over 2 years potentially. The PEIR, $350,000. I did leave in the AIR fire detection systems, that rollover as well. And here you can see the math on the projection for the maintenance of I-280. This is not scientific. This is an accountant coming up with these numbers. I could be off, but I put in what I think we can afford. That's what I put in at this point in time as well. And then, of course, you see the $15 million for the new fire station funding and $6 million for El Monte. So all these numbers under the hood will roll up into the charts that you're going to see in just a second. So with that, here we go. And just briefly, these are all the rollovers. I reported this during the budget. And these numbers, as you saw on the previous screen, all factored into the forecast. And next slide. Okay. So here we are at current service and FTE levels. And that's a key factor here. This first chart does not assume that we have hired any more fire staffing. It just indicates, given what we know, with the staff that we have, with the expenses that we project, with the assumptions that I put forward, what does our surplus look like over the next 10 years? And you can see it's pretty healthy. It's $1 million on average. It actually goes up. It starts approaching $2 million at the end as the property tax increases. And it seems to be doing fine. And so I would say that's a good testament to the financial stability of the district. If you go to the next slide, and again, these are all the same assumptions. This is just, it's a strange looking slide, but it's essentially is showing you all the infrastructure costs. So that first slide was general fund operating. This is just all the outlay of dollars and the infrastructure fund. Obviously, every year is negative because again, I'm taking that out of operations. And then when you combine these two on the next slide, you'll see that you have your use years and your positive years, your use years and your positive years when you combine them. And that's the downside of having one fund and not having the funds separated. But we internally, we can separate them so we know the difference. Next slide, please. So this is what it looks like if you look at fund balances. So we're taking all those assumptions, putting them together. The estimate for the fund balance at the end of 26, 27, are not the budget, but the estimate where we tweaked and adjusted some expenditures at that point, given known factors. We believe over the next 10 years, with these projections, we will use $15.5 million of our fund balance. And you might wonder, well, you had $24 million in infrastructure, why didn't it go down more? Because we also had some surpluses along the way as well that are offsetting it. So the forecast is telling us eventually 35, 36, that 45 will go to 30. We'll use a net of $15 million, leaving us with unassigned of 22, still very, very, very healthy, and assigned of $8 million. And to address Commissioner Tonka, your question last time, I went, what are other districts doing? This is a higher than normal percentage, of course. It's well over a year of operating funds as well. So yes, we still are on the high side, but we remain healthy. But continuing, we'll be using these funds as well. So that is what we found just looking at the first level of assumptions that was just giving you. We go to the next slide. Now we shift the lens. Assuming we do hire and fund, not hire, fund fire staff. And I assumed four staff members at the facility, 1 captain and 3 firefighters. Now you see what's left at the end of the line is about $500,000 per year. So we've suddenly used about $1 million, $1.1 million of that surplus. And then the forecast is also telling us nicely, yes, you can do this. You can do this and still remain positive. Remember, this is not infrastructure in these costs. This is just operating. So we have that comfortable cushion as well, with the potential of funding new firefighters in the future. Next slide. If we were to do that same analysis that we did 2 slides ago and look at fund balances, then we will be going from 45 million to 23 million at 35, 36, and use $21.8 million over the next 10 years. Now we're getting to the point, if you look at the unassigned and assigned balances in fiscal year 35, 36, now we're less than a year in unassigned operating costs, because in 35, 36, our projection is that our budget will be about $26, $27 million a year. So now we have $15 million out of $27 million. That's about 3/4 of a year. Still a strong policy. I've looked at Santa Cruz and other agencies. They're about 5 months, 6 months in reserve policies. We're still higher than them, but still at a comfortable spot because, in my opinion, we're very different than most other fire districts that do protection and prevention. We do much more, and we're responsible for a wide jurisdiction beyond running a fire station. We do much more than that as well. We also have a hydrant system, which is very, very significant as well. So next slide, please. So that's what we saw in the forecast. I would be remiss if I didn't summarize the investment that this district is putting into the community. So what I did here is I took all our projects and programs, chipping, debris removal, evacuation routes, the new fire facility, the I-280, and I quantified it by year. And it's quite remarkable that if you look at over 10 years, an average about $7 million a year going right, $8 million going right back into the community, specifically for fire safety. And this excludes the fire protection contract, the fire services contract. So you can see these dollars are going back into the community that emanated out of this forecast. If you look at it on the next slide, you can actually see what makes up these numbers. There you go. So you can see where those numbers are coming from. How do we arrive at these investments per year? And again, there they are in front of you on this slide. So with that, next slide. So I believe we've held true to the deliverables and momentum slide that we brought up in the budget. These are the same items that we brought forth to the commission over a year ago as to what the focus are. I believe we've held true to the focus. And on the next slide, I'll try to summarize what at least the forecast is telling me and telling us. It's telling me that the district is currently and will remain in a fiscally strong position. There's no doubt in my mind the district is fiscally strong. But I think 26, 27 marks the threshold. We're on the threshold of some very significant reserve outlays. And we can see that happening. And we also can maintain our current service levels, of course, always with prudent planning, but there's no doubt in my mind that prudent planning will continue. We continue to develop projects and programs with fire science. We manage our reserves to fund infrastructure. We'll continue to carefully monitor operational costs. We're planning for a new facility. We're also planning for potential staffing in the new facility. We need to continue to nurture our new service agreements with the county, our fire contract service agreements with the county. That relationship is strong, it's pivotal, and the agreements that were reached were so valuable. And we just kind of watch the ebb and flows of the projects from year to year. So that, in a sense, is what the forecast is telling me, but it also is telling me that we need to stay diligent because we are a disaster agency. I'll give you one last piece of information that I just got yesterday in working with Aida Fairman and General Manager Logan. We were looking at Prisma's capital project plan, dealing with the water system, but also dealing with the hydrants. And on average, over the next 5 to 10 years, they're spending $5 to $6 million per year. Many of those projects impact our hydrants as well. So in the background also, we're part of this robust hydrant system. We budgeted for that. But we're also watching that very, very closely as well. I think we're very unique as far as General Manager Logan and I know. We're the only fire district maybe in the nation that owns hydrants. We don't know of any other one that does. So with that, that's the end of the forecast.
Questions, comments? No?
Great job. Thank you.
Well, thank you for going through that. Because when I read it ahead of time, I didn't see the little blue bar at the bottom right, which said with fire staffing. And so I couldn't tell what was going on exactly. Now I understand that. Because that was the question I had is, we're going to add staffing. Isn't that going to make things tighter? And it makes it tighter, but it's not that tight. So this is surprisingly robust once you've included those factors.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyson. And I purposely wanted to do it before and after, because I think it's important to see that, at the steady state right now, we're in that sound position, but now show the impact of that. And it's good news on both sides of the equation. But I wanted to make the comment that we can afford it, although we have to manage our expenses going forward.
Any other comments here? Quick question. Did the inflation numbers come into play when you, for example, place rehab of the El Monte fire station? You sort of said $6 million, then you put it out 8 years in the future. Do we think it's still going to be $6 million 8 years in the future?
That estimate is too preliminary to kind of put an inflationary flag on.
Granted, we don't know. I just wonder if it is a big enough confidence interval on that we figure that's going to cover things even 8 years in the future.
Yes. Now, of course, the fire facility design is going to tell us a lot about the cost of the new facility. We haven't envisioned yet, doing a design estimate for El Monte, but I'm sure that will come as well. But I did not apply a inflationary factor on that as well. What's interesting, though, is when you apply that inflationary factor to all of our costs, the fire contract, general services, salaries, it is amazing in 10 years, right, how the costs grow. It's actually amazing because we're going from a budget of 22 million. At the end of the day, it's 27 million, 27 and some change at the end of 10 years. And that's strictly just inflation. If you think it's CPI, if you will. So it's really remarkable what 10 years does. Well, 10 years times 3% is 33%. Yeah. It goes up pretty quickly.
My other question is, should do 10-year forecasts include the unknown? In other words, saying we know that every 2 years there's N5s, there's some new technology or something, there's $1 million thing here. Is it best not to include kind of a question mark box in there and just assume that this tells us what margin we have and how much sort of health we have? New things would come out of that. And that's a reason, by the way, to keep a healthy reserve, because we don't know what's going to happen and what we're going to be required to do. And if things start, they could easily impact this pretty severely.
Yeah, I think it is important that they include some type of SWOT analysis, what your threats are out there as well. I think that is important as well. As you ponder this 10-year forecast, I love your thoughts as to, the assumptions that we've made. Are they the proper assumptions? We've heard, from Commissioner Warren about the fire apparatus as well. But any other thoughts that come to mind will help us. That's the best we can do right now in terms of our projections. But I know other thoughts can emanate from this process. So would love to hear either now or in the future before we, finalize a publication of it as well.
Personally, my only other thought is that I absolutely agree with Commissioner Warren's comment that should be in there as part of the budget of a new fire station. And I don't see a reason to show numbers without staffing. That seems to me to be a red herring because it just seems obvious. It's not an option.
Yes, exactly. So the published version will have that in as a core assumption, and it'll be a assumption right up front, and it'll just show it as well. Again, I leave you with the thought that I am conservative in my estimates. We may and probably will do better in these years, but at the same time, I don't want to put the commission in the commission or any entity in a position where we don't have enough, and we projected that you'd have enough, and so there is a cushion in there, if you will, of conservatism, but I've found that in the long run that helps us remain prudent and safe.
Well. Thank you. No other comments here. We'll take the public comment. Oh no, Jay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention two factors that I think you should consider. Is this 10-year financial forecast really brilliantly tees up what's going to come next, and that is our strategic planning, because our strategic plan is to 2023 to 27. So very quickly we're going to go into strategic planning, and now a lot of the questions you're asking through that SWOT analysis can be determined, and so it really sets your mind into what the strategic plan is going to be for the district. The other thing too that I'm hoping is the procurement of those fire apparatuses were with the fire facility in mind to come back home and be in those. Yes, that's what I will be working on.
The other thing I just want to mention, and really as a congratulation to the staff and I know everyone was involved in this ultimately in our wonderful finance team, is that this is really another layer of, we started from budgets to work plans to multi-year work plans to ultimately essentially a budget vision document. It's the pyramid of planning is really impressive, and this is a new layer added to it. So, public comment.
First, it was a very good first start. So thank you so much for doing that. As I've said before, I really believe the organization has the cart before the horse. It really needs to do a needs analysis about why it needs another fire station and what the nature of that fire station should be. You made an assumption, for instance, 4 staff members. Well, the only fire station around here that has 4 members in it is the one over here. All the other fire stations have only 3 people in it. The 4th person is necessary because of the truck. You're not going to put another truck into this area, so it makes no sense to have an assumption of having four people. And I'm pleased to hear that we've already bought the apparatus, because that's exactly my reaction. We've already bought the apparatus. It couldn't be housed here, so it's going to be housed someplace else. But if we're going to have a fire station, let's bring those trucks home, because we paid for them. So I very much appreciate hearing that. As far as the nature of the fire station, whether it's a $15 million fire station or a $5 million fire station, it depends upon how it's going to be staffed and when it's going to be used. So once again, you need a needs analysis to determine that. So I'm not suggesting that there's anything wrong with what you've done in terms of the projections. I absolutely agree we have adequate money to meet our future needs. But I think if we're going to really rely on it, we should try and improve some of the assumptions by doing a little bit more analysis, not financial analysis, operational analysis that you can then use to do the financial analysis with. I will say the central fire costs are maximum of 5%. They haven't been 5% in any of the years that I'm familiar with, because it's based upon CPI and some other factors. I hope, I mean, there's two sides to interest rates. If interest rates stay up as high as they are today, our country has a great problem because we have trillions of dollars of debt that has to be paid for. From a historical standpoint, the assumption you make is very high. From a recent standpoint, the assumption you made is not unreasonable, but you know, and it doesn't change the equation very much anyways overall. So thank you very much for doing the work. I really would like to see the organization look at the assumptions about the needs for a fire station and what the nature of the fire station is and what improvements it will provide to residents in town by having an additional fire station, because there is a very substantial cost that you saw associated with putting in place another fire station. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you for the comments. I will say that part of the nature of the fire station will come out of one of the projects we have scheduled, which is to find out what can be done with that parcel. You know, what were you able to do, let alone what's needed. And certainly we know what the organization has needs for office abilities as well as fire stuff. So it's going to be a crammed location there. So we need to find out what that parcel supports and what's needed. And of course, that's a moving target with all the housing things going on. But we already know the reason we're funding Station 8. I'm glad that was shown in the numbers that, you know, that removes potentially our need to be funding Station 8, because that's why we got together at Palo Alto, because that area, and I know Jim is thankful to have some people monitoring that area. And I know that, you know, the south end of town, which is, I know where I remember the public lives, is pretty well covered because El Monte's there. The little station, the second Los Altos station is there. The response times are there. You know, I think everyone on the north side have a very much different sense, less sensitivity to specific planning on that, because there's a need there for protection. That's where our biggest vulnerability is coming to that area. So, you know, we really want to, I think that's a chance for us to really help balance the fire protection needs throughout the whole district.
Without even those 375 residential unit that seems to be in the plan, all you have to do is take a drive up and down Page Mill Road. You'll understand how much risk we're dealing with. Yeah. Because it's a very, very risky area. That all being said, I think this analysis was something to me that I really was worried about before. The fact, can we afford this fire station in its totality, including staffing and equipment? And this analysis proves to me that at the very minimum, it's feasible. Maybe some more work needs to be done, but the very fact that that fear is more or less has been allayed is important.
Right. And I appreciate the conservative nature of it. I mean, saying 4 people is a conservative number. Maybe it is less, but you know, this knows that depending on what's needed, this is a 10-year forecast. That's what it's meant to be. So anyway, we should move on. We have one more very hopefully quick item. Moving on to item 11. We did this last year. 11A is to receive an update on the fiscal year 26 financial audit process. 11B is to just consider establishment of another ad hoc financial audit subcommittee like we had last year.
Yes, and I think you can proceed. I think the report speaks for its own. We basically just need an audit committee created. The audit has officially started. The auditors will be in the field virtually on August 11th, and we hope to bring the audit to the commission in October. So we just need this action to create the audit committee.
See, last year, I believe it was you and it was Jim. Okay. Well, I think they're asking for the committee. I'd like to give it to them. Do we have any volunteers? Was it?
I don't mind again doing it.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I aside from my traveling plans, I'm more than happy to do it.
I would certainly like to nominate the two of you again. I'm sure that our committee can be made to very flexible around your own plans. I'm seeing nodding heads there. In that case, I would need a motion from commission to create the ad hoc fiscal year 2025, actually 26 financial audit subcommittee with commissioners Kambe and CG as those serving. Anyone want a motion in a second?
Warren motions.
Tonka seconds.
Excellent. Any discussion? If you want to argue now against it, you can.
Do we need to have because as a subcommittee, does it have to have a time period associated with it?
It is. In fact, I guess I should read it. Yeah. I'll read this. The focus of the ad hoc subcommittee will be to review the draft audit and meet with the auditors as the reports and materials are analyzed and compiled with an end date of no later than October 31st, 2026. As an ad hoc subcommittee, it will not be subject to the meeting rules required under the Brown Act and will be made up of less than a quorum of the commission with 3 or fewer members. This will be 2. Let's see. That's parameters. So
I remove with the same, with adding the verbiage on the
excellent
structure of the committee.
motion and the same second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Any public comments? Seeing none. Let's take a roll call.
President Spreen,
Yes.
Commissioner Basigi,
Yes.
Commissioner Kadambi,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
And the commission has approved the creation of the ad hoc subcommittee with, Commissioners Basigi and Kadambi serving by a vote of 6-0 with 1 absent.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And
Thank you
President
both.
Spreen, I just wanted to mention that with the audit starting, the auditors can reach out to any and all of the commissioners by letter or even otherwise. So if you do receive a letter of some type or an inquiry from Fector and Company, it's regarding their audit inquiries.
Right. Great. Thank you. Item 12A is as commission reports. Any comments from the commission? You don't have any? I'm moving quickly through this. I don't have anything to offer. The next regular commission meeting is scheduled for August 18th, 2026, in person and hybrid in these very chambers. Is there any comments from him? Is that okay with everybody and not planning to be here? Sounds good. Any public comments on the item? Seeing none. Let's move on to item 13, which is the closed session. It's around 9:05. Let's see. The commission will now adjourn to closed session to consider the general manager employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. Before we join the closed session, is there any public comment on this item?
I see none.
Thank you. In that case, commissioners, Consultant Schaffner and Deputy County Counsel Ellison will now adjourn to closed session. Upon completion of the closed session, we will return to open session and announce any reportable action, then adjourn the meeting. Staff members of the public and other attendees are not required to remain in the meeting during the closed session and may log out at this time. However, you're welcome to remain if you choose. District Clerk Vargas, please note for the record, the time is 9:07 p.m. Please pause the recording. Thank you. Moving on to item 14, reconvene to open session. District Clerk Vargas, please note for the record, the time is 9:38 p.m. and please conduct the roll call.
Okay, President Spreen.
Here.
Commissioner Basigi, Commissioner Kadambi.
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka, Commissioner Tyson.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
Commissioner Basigi is here.
Commissioner Basigi, for the record, is here.
Thank you. There is no reportable action from the closed session. So we'll move on to item 15, adjournment. This concludes the July 21st, 2026 regular meeting of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. The meeting is adjourned at 9:38 p.m. District Clerk Vargas, please stop the recording.